lot of it is control. It's contrived and it's being manipulated. So what I encourage people to do is don't wait for further manipulation. Get involved in creating your own food supply. And so we have this opportunity because not everything's been shut down completely, but there's been a lot of discussion on that. So this is the time to get into some method of food production on your own, independent of any supply chain, and really get in the habit of doing it. And this is not a time intensive activity. And so I encourage people to make that investment. And if you're worried about making mistakes, do them now, because you know later on, it's going to get really expensive to make mistakes. So get them out of your system, but get involved, get to practicing, and you got to start somewhere.
I'm moving house today. It's been 2 years, 8 months and 28 days, and I've got to say that as I step off the bus for what could be the last time spent as sitting in your boss supermarket queues, etc. And I have to say though, it's only today that I'm glad to be leaving. I really will miss the when Santa.
Listening to truthconduit.com with Chris McMillan.
Let me introduce you. Everybody, Chris McMillan here. This is another episode of truthconduit.com, and I'm with Danny Lilly. Danny Lilly is in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it's all about aquaponics today. So Danny is the executive director and co-founder of Sanctuary ABQ. Danny is also an AUTONOMY graduate, which is how we met. What season were you, Danny? Were you 4 or 5? No, 4.
Season 4.
Yeah, 5 is still going on. Yeah. What is the 5 is on? They're on. I think they're on their week 10 now. Yeah, so it's actually finishing up, which is crazy. It just seems like it just got started. I mean, yeah, it just goes by so quickly.
Oh yeah, it's been a blur. And I'm excited for that because I've been active in season 5 as well, and just to see it the second time has been exciting for me, just because it just soaks in further. You're getting to practice with a different group of people as well, and so I've found great value in participating in season 5 as well. And so much so that the graduation exercise, I put together a slideshow for that. So when I'm doing the exit interview, I'll have a slideshow presentation on that. It talks about the how, the why, and all my adventures getting to this point. So it'd be fun to put that out there for everybody to see.
That is great. Yeah. The whole point of this little chat is anyone who has any doubts about aquaponics. Of course, most people by now have heard of it, but don't fully understand it, including myself. It's always been on my high list of things I'm interested in. I would love to get more into, but have not, for various excuses, intimidating. I didn't tell you this. I do have a little aquaponics prefab. It's like a little fish tank. It was a box you could buy from Home Depot. You know, that little one, and you get one.
I got one in the corner over here.
Yeah. So technically I do have a bit of aquaponics going on, but I wanted to ask you before I'm going to share the screen and you'll go through your presentation. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen then. Is that okay?
Okay. Oh yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Let's see. Make sure this works. Okay, cool, Danny. So I will try not to interrupt you. You just tell me next slide. And then afterwards, I do have quite a few questions for you. All right.
Sure. Okay. Let's get to it. So, once again, my name is Danny Lilly. I'm the executive director for the Sanctuary at ABQ. And our presentation for today, or what I'm going to talk about, is growing our future. That's through a technique called aquaponics. And I regard aquaponics as a solution to hunger and food insecurity. And we're going to go over the main topics of this presentation. We're going to talk about what is food insecurity. Let's go into elaborate that a little further. The solution is controlled environmental agriculture and aquaponics. What are they? Why are they important? And then I'll go into why should you start growing your own food. There's a lot of reasons to do that, but and it sounds daunting, but let's come up with some solutions that are easy to implement, and you're able to do that with excellence. And then, so how do you get started with aquaponics? So next slide, please. Let's talk about the problem at hand, and everybody can agree with us. So next slide, please. We're going to talk a little bit about food insecurity. Basically, it means not having access to enough affordable, nutritious food. This affects more than 800 million people worldwide. That's a very conservative number. In New Mexico, it affects 1 in every 5 people in New Mexico, at 1 in every 4 children. And, that's what kind of got me into this. There wasn't any real plan being done to remediate this. And so I created the Sanctuary at ABQ, and I used the word sanctuary because I wanted a place where people could go and get real information for all these real problems that are out there. So I wanted to be an access place, a safe space to get real information. So as I started this, I knew what controlled environmental agriculture is. We're going to use the acronym CEA. So it's a technology-based approach toward food production. Usually takes place within a greenhouse or a building. And so people say, oh, well, I don't have a greenhouse. Well, I didn't have one when I started either, and I ended up with this. And so they're out there. You can build your own, but there's plenty of greenhouses that are not being utilized for any reason right now. So they're out there. They exist. We go to the next slide, please. This next slide is going to show you some of the commercial examples of commercial, controlled environment agriculture. So this can be done on a bigger scale. That's not a problem. I don't want anybody to be intimidated by that, but it can be done on a larger scale. So they're out there. And the technology, lots of plants being supplied by some kind of fertilizer that's, in this case, it's being provided by the fish waste. I know this particular slide's a little daunting right now, but the next one is very interesting to show a difference. Everything on this slide was shot in this greenhouse. So the same principle, plants, fish, edible food. It can be done in a smaller scale in a smaller space. So this slide is a short video on aquaponics.
Aquaponics. What we're doing here is taking aquaculture, which is the breeding, rearing, and harvesting of fish, or fish farming, if you will. And we're mixing that with hydroponics. Hydroponics is a type of horticulture which involves growing plants without soil. By manually mixing essential elements required for plant growth and dissolving them into water and cycling it through grow beds. By combining these two arts, aquaculture and hydroponics, you get a wonderfully harmonious balance. Aquaponics. The fish provide the nutrients that the plants need in order to grow and thrive, while the plants clean the water that the fish need in order to grow and thrive. By placing your aquaponic system inside a greenhouse, you now can control the environment for all of this symbiotic life and grow produce year-round. Aquaponics can be designed to be a near-zero waste system and easily boast over 90% water retention, as there is no need to do water changes like you see in both aquaculture and hydroponics in order to dilute excess nutrients. You also do not lose water to runoff or ground absorption. You can simply circulate the water indefinitely in your aquaponics system, which only grows stronger with age. Being in a controlled environment allows you to do agriculture using a staggered growth production cycle. This is a method where you can plan the next generation of crops to come up right behind the previous harvest. The system in this video, for example, is capable of 135 heads of lettuce per week. I believe aquaponics has the ability to change the culture of food in New Mexico, bringing food sovereignty and security to a reality. We aim to place an aquaponics system in every school in New Mexico. I believe the only way we're going to change the future is by raising a generation that is excited about and has a new method of growing agriculture.
Well, go ahead. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts
so
on that?
the next slide after that is yeah, so that's the visual. The next one is so aquaponics is a sustainable method of food production. It combines aquaculture. So we have fish in a tank, or shrimp, crawfish, prawns, and the waste is extracted out and they're pushed across into a hydroponic system, and that's the growing of plants in water. So it's just a combination of the two. And then over to the right of the screen, aquaponics uses only 10% of the water versus traditional farming uses. And so everybody's talking about, we're running out of water. So this is a great way to conserve resources and get more production. So this is the kind of the modern farming that's taking place right now. I get this question all the time. Is this new technology? No, it's not. It's been around. It's nothing new under the sun, just modernized. And so the Aztecs were very famous for using this grow method. And so I put a map of Mexico Valley, 1500s, where they were actually using this technique. And the next slide after that actually shows you an example of the grow beds they were using in this lake. There we go. Yeah, so this is an example of the grow beds used in the lakes in central Mexico. This idea was, used by the Mayans. The Chinese still use it, and there's proof that the Babylonians used this as a sustainable method of food production. So, what are the benefits of aquaponics? So why even do this? So there's four main reasons behind it. Healthier environment's one, healthier food, a healthier method of agriculture, and a healthier economy. So this affects society on a lot of levels. And so we'll go to the first one, healthier environment. And so we already stated that, aquaponics uses 90 to 95% less water per acre versus traditional agriculture. The reason that we're able to save so much water is the plants are immersed in water already. So it's able to take the water in, it's able to take in the nutrients. So there's no loss in water to evaporation or going back into the water table. So the plant gets all the water it needs. Another big reason for this is aquaponics doesn't need pesticides or fertilizers. So there's no glyphosate in here. There's no fake fertilizers, because I'm getting real fertilizer from the fish. You get a cleaner vegetable coming out of the system. So there's no fake additives that are in here. The other big reason for helping the environment is carbon footprint. We're able to do this without the use of tractors or heavy farm equipment. And more importantly, we're able to grow food localized. So I always talk about decentralized agriculture. And so what does that really mean? It means you're able to grow locally and you're not dependent upon the trucking system or globalism. You're able to get food readily at hand. And so if we were able to cut back on a lot of the transportation, you can cut transportation by 94%. That's affiliated with uh, agriculture if you were doing it locally. And so there's a big savings in keeping a lot of the trucks off the road. And we'll go to the next slide, please. And so the food, the overall food you're getting, it's going to be organic. There's no, I don't like genetically modified food to begin with, and I don't think it would thrive in here anyway. It's fresh because you're able to take food that's produced here and consume it right away. You're not putting it in a distribution system to where it's going to other places, so there's less people handling it. Because of the aquaponics and controlled environment, you're able to produce food year round. And so you eliminate seasonality. Because of this system, you're expediting the grow time. So as a comparison, lettuce in traditional agriculture, you need about 90 days to grow that. In aquaponics, you can do that in 45 days. So basically half the time. You get produce that's more nutrient dense because the plants are immersed in the water. They're able to take in more nutrient faster, and it's more bioavailable for the plant. So if we're putting the right inputs in the water, feeding the fish correctly, you're going to get more nutrients into the plants. And then once again, it's a direct farmer to consumer model, no middlemen, unless you want them. But I'm able to take this and sell directly to the community. A healthier agriculture. So if we're comparing this against traditional big ag, the number one thing is no soil erosion. I'm not eroding anything here. I'm not wasting water. I don't have expensive equipment. There's no chemical runoff of glyphosate that's killing microorganisms or getting in the water table. And there's no risk to pollinators. So, that thing about saving the bees, hey, we support, that here. So, so when you put this against big ag, we're always going to be a better, healthier alternative. And then your economy, local production, local distribution. And so you're keeping production that's here in the community. And so that creates more jobs. That's greater protection against severe weather and climate change. And I put climate change in quotes because I think that's bogus. This is something anybody can do. I don't want anybody coming out of this presentation thinking I can't do aquaponics. That's no. The way I designed this greenhouse and the way I promote aquaponics, it's inclusive. Anyone can do this. And then once again, the decentralized agriculture, you're able to go into something where you can create utility for yourself, create an income for yourself, and keep yourself alive. There's not a healthier economy than that. And so why is aquaponics important? Overall, you're going to get safe, nutritious food. Your overall low food costs or food production costs are going to be lower. You do have an investment on the front end of that, but after your initial build out, it's maintenance costs and just your cost to grow food. You're healing the environment because you're not contributing to soil erosion or you're not putting glyphosate out there. And then the most important thing, reason I got into this, eliminate the food insecurity. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you're able to produce food for yourself the day that you're not going to be able to get it at the store? And there's, especially now, there's just a lot of discussion about supply chains going down and real instability in the marketplace. So this is always a great way to combat the food insecurity. Is you got to produce your own food. The aquaponics is the solution to a lot of these challenges out there. With the local food production, you can cut time and distance from farm to consumer. You're decreasing the waste. You're responsive to local needs, and the improved food resiliency and security. And to quantify that statement, Albuquerque right now has about a 3-day reserve in food supply. So what does that really mean? If they stop shipping here, we have 3 days worth of food and it's gone. It's going to be off the shelves and everybody's a looter or something after that. And so if you're able to grow your own food, you've got that true resiliency and security behind you, and you're not worried about robbing your neighbor or worried about where your next meal is coming from. And so how can you get started? Well, start growing your own food. Start today. and mistakes are okay. Everyone wants to be so perfect. And the reality of it is make your mistakes doing this. Because what that leads to is you're going to have field experience for tomorrow. And tomorrow is the day you're going to need to know what you're doing. So go out and make mistakes, fail forward, but get going, because you don't know what tomorrow will bring you. I also put in here, food has intrinsic value. It's like printing your own money. And so if you're not going to consume what you're growing, you can barter and trade with it, or support a community garden, but make sure that the people around you and in your community aren't going to starve or worry about where they're going to get food from. And so there's a meme on the left there. Those who don't have a plan or don't want to go along with what's going on in the world, those are some basic skills that you do need to incorporate. And the first item is growing food. It's also the one thing that a lot of people struggle with. I don't want to eat MREs or canned food from 20 years ago. I want to eat something fresh, no matter what's going on. So this is a viable option to do that. That's my website, sanctuaryabq.org. If you're looking to get into aquaponics, get on the mailing list. And what I'll give you is a free schematic to build your own home-based system. And I'll show a picture on the next slide. Now, if you don't want the schematic, if you're looking to purchase one, great. We can have that discussion as well. But also, too, we're going to start with an online curriculum. It's in development right now, but it's intended to get you to grow food now, not way down the line. So the website's going through a revamp. But yeah, get on the mailing list. So the schematic is for our home-based classroom system. We've sold quite a few of these. In fact, I've got a pending order for some for the school district right now. They work. What do you get out of this aquaponics system? You're going to save time. So you don't have to figure out, oh, well, my system works. We've designed this to work. So it'll save you some time to figure it out. It's going to be space saving. So the picture doesn't lie. You can put it at the base of a window. You put it outside, put it in your living room. As long as your plants get some sunlight, excuse me, you're going to get the production you're looking for. And save yourself some energy. I mean, you're going to be needing energy for other things. Leverage the little energy that you have into growing your own food here. So yeah, next slide, please. And so if anything you got with growing with aquaponics, you're going to get food purity, you're going to get food security, you're going to get food sovereignty. And that's the name of the game. When you have control of your own food supply, you're a very difficult person to control. Very simple.
You remember Kissinger's famous quote, right, Danny? You remember Henry Kissinger's quote? Control the food supply, and you control the people.
That's very true. And this is what we're seeing in the marketplace now, is that's what they're doing right now. They're destabilizing supply chains. They're culling herds. They're talking about, oh, well, we need to be eating bugs, all this World Economic Forum garbage. And so you don't have to go that route. I don't believe anything they say, because we're in control of that. We get a decision on where we get our food every day. And so it's a matter of choice. And so I know we're all busy, but at the same time, if you invest a little bit of time in growing your own food, you're able to keep making choices for yourself. Don't give that choice away to other people.
Yeah, I agree. So is this this is all your email of you and your colleagues in?
Yes. And so Chad was the one that shot the video. And so he's my program director, and he's a co-author on the curriculum. The website is there. You'll see the sign on for the mailing list. We're on social media, so we're highly active on Facebook and Instagram. And we put some great content out there. We're always looking to put out more. And this last shot, the screenshot, so Chad is on my immediate left. The person on my right is Charlie Schultz. He runs one of the top aquaponic programs in the country, and it's based in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
So not the author
you,
of Charlie Brown, not the same Charles Schultz.
No, no, that's a good one. Yeah, so Charlie he's bringing about 35 years of experience in aquaponics to the industry, and so we understand that we need to, when we're promoting aquaponics, I'm a big advocate for that. Yeah, I have my own programs and things that I'm doing, but where I've seen some of the challenges in terms of academia and in terms of advocacy. That's why a lot of people don't know what aquaponics really is. It's always been mentioned as kind of like a fringe science. Oh, that's what the pot smokers are using to grow weed in mom's basement, things like that. And so when I got into this, I knew I had to be a promoter of the technology. Not that there's a whole lot of technology. It's just it's almost like it's occulted, for lack of a better word. Because a lot of people don't know. And so when I talk to people about this, it's like, wow, why don't people know about this? And so in actuality, I accounted for two things: colonialism and social engineering. Because those two things, after the Mayans and the Incans got conquered by the Spaniards and whatnot, all their farming techniques disappeared. It wasn't absorbed into modern farming practices, and it just kind of went away as a fringe science. The Chinese still use it, but it's not in the mainstream knowledge. It's really used out in the backwoods somewhere, but it still works. So there's been this kind of an obfuscation of getting this knowledge out to people. And so 3 years ago, a lot of people like myself and some of the other academia people, we all banded together and say, look, we need to really get together as a group, come up with best practices, really organize and really start promoting this. And so, we all banded together as the Aquaponics Association. And we started getting out there and promoting it. So you're starting to see it more being applied in school systems. It's a great way to promote education. That was one of the things I was drawn to this for, was we're able to integrate lesson plans into this. So students and participants, they have an immersive way of learning things. And so you can integrate a lot of things into this. And so the curriculum, as we're putting that together, what am I going to put in that? Our graduates are critical thinking would be one, empathy, some naturals, things you're not going to get out of the school system. And so I'm going to incorporate that in without telling anybody what I'm putting in there. And so the expectation out of that is I'm going to get students that are not going to be afraid to ask questions. They're not going to be afraid to experiment and learn things.
Danny, what are the most common mistakes made in aquaponics, especially for beginners who are new to it and just getting into it?
The biggest mistake I see is lack of care. They think they can just turn a system on and walk away. The reality of it is, in aquaponics, sure, your attention time versus a victory garden or something like that, it's cut in basically in half. So you don't have to give it as much attention, but you have to give it some attention. And so feed the fish when you need to. You don't have to feed them every day. Check the water chemistry. So that's the one thing I do encourage people to do is check your water chemistry. You're testing for the pH of water, the temperature, nitrate, nitrite, and so these things help the plants grow when they're in the right parameters. But also too, I think the last thing is you don't need electricity to run everything, and so I make it easy by just our portable system needs one plug for the recirculating pump. That's it. So
That kind of leads to my
and we
another
did that on
question I had.
purpose.
What's the most
Sure.
what would be the biggest investment with someone getting started? Would it be the pump itself, or I mean, what are we talking about here? We need the test kits, we need the pump, we'll need the containers and the pipes, and of course the fish themselves and the plants. What am I leaving out?
That's pretty much it. So the pump itself, the little unit that we're selling, that pump you can get it pretty much at a pet food store, and that's only like $15. The most expensive thing in our system is actually the wood. So the framing to put everything together, as you know, the cost of wood went up like
Yeah.
4 times in the last
Yeah,
year. Yeah, and so
especially nowadays.
yeah, and so that's and if I'm selling one, I got to pass that cost on. However, in our course that we're going to put online, we're going to show people how to build systems with things they have around the house already, or things they can readily get their hands on. So, because you may not have the blessing of saying, okay, I'm going to get a ready-made system. How can I, for lack of intent, how do I MacGyver it?
Yeah.
If you got an old bathtub floating around, or you got empty tanks that hold potable water, you can build an aquaponics system. So it's just a matter of knowing the piping, and the pump is probably the most critical thing. You do need the pump to kind of push the water along. I know people that have converted a swimming pool into an aquaponics system. So it really depends on imagination and what you're looking to accomplish. And so I always tell people there's not a reason for somebody to not get in the aquaponics. This allows for creativity. This allows for innovation. So I think the only mistake, it's kind of like natural law. The only mistake is not starting. So I encourage you to go out there and try it out. And all the principles are the same. So yeah.
It's really nice talking to you, Danny. I like how you mentioned natural law. I like how you talk about decentralization and a few other important points. I mean, especially that one slide 19. I mean, that alone with all the solutions is what I try to focus on. Each one of those aspects alone that were on slide 19, like networking, bartering, all of that are solutions unto themselves. I have another question for you.
Sure.
So I've got an aquaponics system. I'm not interested in eating the plants. I just want to eat the fish, or vice versa. Or someone who's not interested in eating the fish, they just want the plants. That would affect the dynamic of anyone's system depending on what they wanted, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And so I'll give you an example. Like for the fish, I use goldfish in our system is only because they're tolerant of temperature swings, and so you can't really eat the goldfish. But if they die in my system, what I really lose? I hate to say it that way, but let's say it's a more edible fish. Let's say it's tilapia. So that's the most commonly used fish in aquaponics. So in our industry, we refer to that as chicken of the sea, because they replicate quick and they're tasty. And it's a quality fish when it's raised in a quality environment. Now, most people don't realize when you're buying tilapia out of the store, it's coming from China or wherever it is, and they don't have the best practices in fish farming.
I've heard rumors.
Oh yeah, and so you're not getting a quality product, and so overall you're not doing yourself any favors. And so to raise tilapia in an aquaculture setup, you get a quality product, and it's not limited to tilapia. You can do jade perch in this. You can do catfish. You could do trout, and so they're coming up with new things to help the industry because certain fish need certain parameters. And so if you create that environment for the fish to thrive, I'm all for that because every fish has different nutritional needs. They have water temperature needs. Some of them don't like light. So you got to know what you're working with and create that environment, and you're going to get what you're looking for. Same with the plants. It's great to have it in a controlled environment. But what if you don't have that? Can you still do aquaponics? The answer is yeah. And so I always show people this photo of an aquaponics system in Sedona. It's on basically a yoga retreat. And so they have a lake, they have goldfish in it, they feed the goldfish, and then that water is siphoned off and it irrigates all the surrounding plants around this lake. Same principles. And you get all the produce you need, and they use that for their kitchen at the facility. And so there's a lot of ways that you can modify aquaponics to make it work for you.
So
you're only limited by imagination.
Imagination, yeah, I love it. I definitely would be looking at catfish for my system. So everything that you've talked about, I mean, there's no excuse for me personally to not get this system set up. I have a tank out there. I've got 2 tanks, in fact, and I've got fish in them, but they're not connected to any food system. Then separately, I've got my garden. I'm thinking, I'm here right now, I'm being empathetic for someone listening who might be still stuck in an apartment in the city. At the very minimum amount of space, how much space would someone realistically need where they could pull this off?
Sure. No, it's a 2x3 footprint. And so just to kind of, let me pan the camera a little bit. Let me go over here. Let me adjust this. But if you could see it, I have one of the portable systems in the background, and that's all it really takes. If you can see it towards the back of the greenhouse, yeah, that's a 2x3 footprint. So you can put it in your kitchen, you can put it on your balcony. And I did that on purpose to show people that, okay, if you're one person living in an apartment, can you do aquaponics? The answer is yes, you can. Because you're only
Danny, can you lower the camera just a slightly? I can see it, but I want to get like a visual of the bottom of it. That's it. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's it. Nice. So that's the at the bottom in the yellow lid tank. That's where the fish are.
Yeah.
And then the plants will be growing in that top tray. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So if I wish I could get it a little closer. You know what? Let's do that. Yeah, why not? Since we're
doing it live.
Yeah. And so that's a better. Oops. Let me just adjust the camera a little bit.
That's it.
There
Perfect.
We go.
Perfect.
Yeah. We'll get the chair out of the way here. And yeah, so
okay, so where's the pump? The pump's in the fish.
So this is the system. This is the pump that goes in it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a very small pump. I get them for like $15 at any pet food store. That's probably the best way to get them, or even there's a lot of hydroponic and aquaponic stores out there. So all this is a fixed flow pump, and so it pushes about 185 gallons or 160. Even on the low end, it's 160, and so you'll be able to get the flow that you need. And so the water gets pushed out of the tank at the bottom, and it goes up into your top tank. It's never going to overflow. So there is a check valve in that. So when it reaches a certain height, the water will drain itself out back into the recirculating tank. So that does a couple things. One, it gives your plants an opportunity to aerate. So it gets free oxygen basically. And so that oxygen, when it's exposed like that without the water immersion, helps boost the productivity of the plant, so the plant grows faster. And so one of the things about the benefits of aquaponics is, yeah, I'm able to put lettuce in here after it sprouts, and then you'll have a full head of lettuce within 45 days. And so for the
What is
single
that you
person
put in
or
the top tray? What is that? I mean, as for the filler,
that's where
that's
you're
not your typical garden soil.
no. And so this is what we're using here is it's called an expanded clay pebble. And so what this is, it simulates the density of dirt, but without the resistance. And so it's not packed in, it looks like cocoa pebbles basically. But they're pitted, they hold water, they hold microbes, they hold nutrients. And so when your plants are sitting in this, it allows the root system to grow freely without resistance. And so when your plant's growing, the most work it'll do from the root side is it's trying to burrow into the ground. And so it requires energy to do that. But when there's no resistance, that root system develops very quickly. So it cuts down on your grow time overall. That's where you're saving time.
How many pounds of fish could you realistically harvest from that setup alone?
I would be able to do, let's see, I would say 4 pounds, maybe every 60 days.
Okay.
Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but I got to be respectful for the fish that are in the system. So let's say we're growing with tilapia. You need about 5 gallons of water for every fish that you have in there. So that's a 27-gallon tank. So let's say I put 5 tilapia in there, 6 just to be, pushing the limit here. And so you want the spacing for the fish to develop. Um, that's just with any other fish. And so to give you an example, let's say if I took a great white shark and I put it in here, that great white shark will never outgrow the container. And so the same principle applies here. If I want the tilapia to grow to some decent type of editability, I got to give it room to swim around. So we always use the 5 gallons of water per one fish. That gives them the room to breathe and grow. And they can grow usually in 3 to 4 months. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer depending on the feed. To the next thing.
That is really interesting.
Fish. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
5 gallons per fish. I didn't realize that. And not to take, and also take into account the plants that you would be able to harvest. So you're getting the meat and the vegetables at the same time.
Sure. Yeah. So you're getting a full spectrum of not only you're getting their foliage, but you're getting a protein source from the fish. And it's a cleaner version of it. So you're not worried about, once again, if you give it clean inputs, you're going to get a cleaner product. And so a lot of fish food that's out there, it's pretty nutritious for the fish. It gives it nutrients. The fish is not going to absorb it all, so it ends up in the waste. And so that waste is absorbed by the plants, and the plants will make use of that. And so overall, you're going to end up with a more quality food supply unit than anything else that's out there.
That's
and
great.
to kind of give you an idea on the fish as well, I'll add this. It usually takes about 1.1 pounds of food to produce 1 pound of fish. So in comparison, a pound of beef, you need about 3.7 pounds of food plus a lot of water to get 1 pound of beef. Chicken, it's somewhere like 2.5. And so out of pork is a higher number. So fish, it's the lowest number in food ratio to get 1 pound of food. Okay.
Cool. Danny, what do you think with everything happening now? from your point of view, they're all talking about the future of the food supply right now. There's a shortage of chicken. If it's contrived or real, I don't know. What are you seeing from your end about all this that's happening right now, and what do you think is going to happen? What's the direction you think this is going?
A lot of it is control. It's contrived and it's being manipulated. So, um, what I encourage people to do is don't wait for further manipulation. Uh, get involved in creating your own food supply. And so we have this opportunity because not everything's been shut down completely, but there's been a lot of discussion on that. So this is the time to get into some method of food production on your own, independent of any supply chain, and really get in the habit of doing it. And this is not a time intensive activity. And so I encourage people to make that investment and and if you're worried about making mistakes, do them now because you know later on it's going to get really expensive to make mistakes. So get them out of your system, but get involved, get to practicing, and you got to start somewhere.
That's great. Yeah. As Richard Grove's always telling us, failing your way forward. The more mistakes you make,
Yeah.
that's great. The faster you're going to get where you need to go.
And my perspective on this, if I'm going to tell you about failure, I'm going to tell you from the perspective that here's where I failed, here's what I learned from it. And so I can pass that knowledge on to you so you don't do the same thing. So somebody's got to make mistakes around here. It might as well be me. So that's kind of why moving forward, when I'm talking about it is, yeah, I've made mistakes. Yeah, there's room for that. And so, but somebody's got to take the lead in that. Even a lot of my colleagues, they've learned from mistakes. And so we're at a point now, the outreach is a lot more improved than it was previously. The curriculums, the knowledge going out into the street, basically, is of a lot higher quality, a lot more excellence involved, because we do want people to get more involved with this. And a lot of my colleagues can agree with me. It's like we understand what the food problems are. This is the number one way to address it from a more personalized level. So anybody can get into this. So there's no excuses anymore. It's like, let's go, let's grow some food. Worst thing that can happen is you grow some food and you have nobody to give it away to, or you don't want to eat it, or whatever the case may be. But that's better than going to the store and seeing an empty shelf.
The course then, and how can people, you've already said it in your slideshow, but as a reminder, how can people get signed up on your email list?
Sure. So yeah, so there is a box to get on the mailing list in exchange for your email. We do give you the free schematics. So you have an instructional sheet on to build this very same system we showed you. So we show you, the parts list, how to cut the boards, and how to assemble it all. And then after that, if you're willing to take their online curriculum on how to maintain it, how to get the fish and maintenance and all that good stuff, yeah, sure. There's an online curriculum, and we're coming up with a formalized curriculum for homeschoolers as well as school districts. We feel there's a need in the industry for that right now, and we do need the next generation farmers. So that's kind of one of my motivations to do this from school is we need that next farmer. We don't have it. So
well said,
we got to create that next generation farmer. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, any final thoughts before we wrap up then?
Grow some food.
Yeah.
Start today. Stop playing. Yeah, because look at it this way. The people that are trying to cut you off from access from food choices, they're not taking a day off. They're not waiting on you. Okay. So we're on borrowed time here. So get started. Get you some seeds. Even if you're not doing aquaponics, do something. Okay. But start thinking about where you're going to get your food from.
Well said, Danny. Thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you very much for the time, Chris. I appreciate it. And no, we'll we'll keep it going here. All right.
Walking down the street, the children play. For them, it's just another day. The future's reflected in their parents' faces, who chose to stay on in this place. Well, they were born, went to school, got married, and kids, like their grandparents before them did. Got to escape, you know, before it's too late. Although today I could say that I really will miss the when Santa. Santa. But yeah, I was right. Knew what it was like when Santa. When Santa.
You've been listening to truthconduit.com with Chris McMillan. Go to the subscribe page and sign up to get notifications of the latest posts. And check out the support page to help keep it going.
Yeah, I've got a friend in Jesus Christ. I've got a friend in Jesus Christ, and Krishna and Buddha and my bartender.
Have you found that your skills aren't matching up with the challenges ahead? Here are 19 essential skills for success that school never taught you. Get your free copy by following the link below or visit getautonomy.info/19skills.